I don't have a PowerPoint. I'm just using my browser. I do. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Because okay, okay. Yep, there's the video. Maximize that. How do I maximize? Can I just show it like this? How's that? Um, Okay, I see the screen. Yep. So you want me to do that now? So I need to talk to them first. Okay. All right. Thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second and see if this works. I want to say hi and welcome to everyone. If you're here to learn more about designing and implementing and scaling an online course quality review and refresh process with using Oscar, then you're in the right place. My name's Alexandra Pickett, and I am here in my kitchen.
Hi, everyone. I think Alex just accidentally dropped out. So I am currently hosting her session. So I'm going to try to get her back. Hopefully, I see her come back shortly. So I will certainly work on that and see if I can get her to come back. Oh, she's back. So I'm going to put her on in just a second.
Hey, kicked out. I don't know why. Yep. Yep. Can you hear me? No. Can you hear me now? All right. Can you guys hear me now? All right. As I was saying, I'm Alexandra Pickett, and I am the Director of Online Teaching for SUNY Online at the system level of SUNY. I may know some of you. Like I was saying, we're here to talk about doing a larger scale online course quality initiative with some of the tools and templates that I have to share with you today. What I want to make sure um, in order to level set expectations, this is not a presentation on Oscar. This is not a presentation on how to do an online course review. This is not a presentation on Oscar standards. This is a presentation that assumes that you know something about Oscar or some kind of course quality rubric, and that you know about quality standards and how to do course reviews. This session really is intended to give you an overview of a template and some tools or some resources that I have for you to help support a larger scale online course quality initiative that you might be thinking about initiating or doing at your campus. It could be at the campus level, it could be at the degree program level, it could be at the departmental level, something that is larger scale. And so the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen so you can see everything. Uh, okay. And so now you should see my screen. And just to get everyone up to date so that Oscar, a brief video. We've updated our brief Oscar video, so I'm going to share that with you just so that we level set on what Oscar is. And this is a brand new video, so I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to go into full screen and then play it.
SUNY Online has developed an online course design rubric and process that addresses both the instructional design and accessibility of an online course that is openly licensed for anyone to use and adapt. The aim of the SUNY Online Course Quality Review, or OSCAR, rubric and process is to support continuous improvements to the quality and accessibility of online courses, while also providing a systematic approach to collect data across campuses, institutions, departments, and programs. This data can be used to inform faculty development and support large-scale online course design, review, and refresh efforts consistently. There are two components: the OSCAR process and the OSCAR rubric. The OSCAR process provides a framework and a dashboard to support a campus-tailored and scalable approach to improving the instructional design and accessibility of online or blended courses. There are three parts to the process. The online course review, using the OSCAR rubric, yields an action plan that informs the online course refresh process by targeting areas for improvements. After the identified areas have been refreshed and implemented, the learning review closes the continuous improvement loop to confirm the success of the changes made and the development of a plan for the next set of improvements. The dashboard is housed in Google Drive, which allows for free storage and collaboration. It automates campus-level review efforts and accommodates customized rubrics by managing all the rubrics for the institution. Built-in analytics track course review progress and can be used to identify online course design trends. Working with multi-institutional teams of SUNY Online instructional designers, librarians, distance learning directors, technologists, and accessibility experts, SUNY Online staff started with 20 years of SUNY Learning Network research-informed best online practices, the Chico rubric, Universal Learning Design Principles, the SUNY Office of General Counsel's Memorandum on Accessibility Considerations, and conducted a gap analysis with Quality Matters, iNicole, and Blackboard exemplary courses. The resulting 50 standards in the rubric target online instructional design and incorporate the community of inquiry model, the 7 principles of good practice in undergraduate education, the adult learner, Bloom's taxonomy, how people learn, and has been mapped to the SUNY Online fundamental and core competencies for online course design. OSCAR is the first online course quality rubric that specifically addresses the U.S. Department of Education regulation requirements for regular and substantive interaction, RSI, in the design of online courses. OSCAR can be leveraged by faculty, instructional designers, departments, and institutions to assist in planning, designing, improving, documenting, and implementing online courses and programs that are in compliance with RSI regulations. OSCAR standards guide online course design and refresh efforts, as well as faculty development activities to support RSI compliance in new online course development and review of existing online courses. OSCAR standards can be used by online faculty and instructional designers in faculty self-assessments, faculty training activities, resource materials, course reviews, as recommendations and standards to support and document how the online course meets the RSI requirements. The rubric is easy to use, flexible, non-evaluative, requires no storage space, can be customized, and can be implemented in a variety of ways. As part of an online faculty development and online course design professional development process, as an online faculty self-assessment, as part of an online course quality review process by online instructional designers, as a faculty peer review process, in a multidisciplinary collaborative team review model. The rubric also produces an action plan, allows for prioritization of standards, estimates amount of time to make improvements, offers suggestions and examples for improvements, accommodates modification and addition of standards. The 50 Oscar rubric standards also integrate specific ways to make an online course accessible to students with disabilities and specific suggestions for ensuring regular and substantive interaction in online course design. Oscar was adopted by the Online Learning Consortium in 2016 and is featured as the online course quality rubric in their suite of online quality scorecards. The SUNY Online Oscar rubric is flexible, customizable, research-based, openly licensed for anyone to use and adapt, and nationally recognized. It is currently being used by 56 SUNY institutions and thousands of non-SUNY institutions and individuals. For more information on SUNY Online and Oscar, visit oscar.suny.edu.
Okay, so that was a little bit about Oscar, just to make sure that everybody knows when I say Oscar what it is, and hopefully you're all familiar with it and have experience using it or some other course quality tool and understand what online course quality initiatives or reviews might be. So, as I said, this presentation is going to be about sharing some resources and some templates with you that will help you to use Oscar to conduct your own larger scale online course quality initiative. So the first thing that I want to do is let you know that all of the links and materials for this workshop live in a folder, a Google folder, and I will share the Google. This is the Google folder, and this is one of the documents in that Google folder that contain the links to all of the materials. I'm going to quickly go over to the see if I can get into the chat. Which one is the chat? Discussion forum. And here are the links so that you don't have to worry about having the links for this presentation. They're all there in this document are the links, and then in the folder are all of the tools and materials and resources that I'm going to share with you today. So if you go to the first link is the link to the folder. So that's the link to the folder. The second link is the link to the template, the implementation plan template, and that's the main document that I'm going to, that's this one right here, this document right here. That's the main one that I'm going to be talking over with you today. So it's just a template. It's a Google Doc template. And I'll show you just a little bit. Here's the table of contents, and it's set up sort of, it's not sort of, it is a template. What I want to point out first is that you can come to this template and do File, Make Copy, and then you will, in your own Google Drive, have a copy of this template that is your own. I won't be able to see it. It's not connected in any way. But then you'll create your own copy that you can then begin to modify and adapt to the use case that you want to use it for. So this is an implementation plan template intended to help document and support a larger scale online quality initiative that you may have, again, at the campus level, at the degree program level, or at the department level. So the way that I've set this up is that anything that is in italic is something for you to customize. So if you're not using Oscar, you would replace that with whatever rubric you're using, QM or Colt or some other rubric. If you would replace this with your institution, whatever version you might happen to be on, whatever dates you might happen to be working on for this implementation plan. So think of this as a living document that will follow you throughout perhaps phases of your implementation plan. Now, don't be daunted by the table of contents. There's a lot in here, but it is a template. And if there's things in here that you don't use because of the nature of your plan, then you can just delete those and then simply update by clicking on the little, this is an auto-generated table of contents. So you just click on that and it'll update it automatically if you use the style sheets in Google Docs. So in any good plan, you have an introduction, and you'll see here there's some italics, and so you want to give an overview and a history of the initiative. Your initiative might be overall course quality. It might be focused in targeting something specific, like for example, you might be targeting accessibility across a larger number of courses, or you might be targeting regular and substantive interaction with your initiative, or you might be thinking about enhancing interaction and engagement, and so you want to work on that with a larger group of courses and faculty. So you want to give an overview and a history of the initiative. You also want to document who you're working with. On a larger initiative, you're going to have your distance learning committee or some other small group of folks who are working with you on this. These are perhaps stakeholder members from across your institution or your department or the program. So you're going to want to list those members who are working with you on the initiative here. The acknowledgements is just boilerplate. This is an openly licensed template. You can use and adapt this however you would like, but we ask for attribution. So you can just leave that there the way that it is. If it's in italic, you customize it. So you want to talk about, in any good plan, you want to talk about the need and the purpose and why this particular initiative is needed. You're giving context for the need and rationale for the initiative, and so you would replace this with some narrative text that explains that context. And typically that would be a couple of paragraphs depending on the complexity of the initiative and the context. You want to document your communications. And so these are prompts. Think of these as prompts. How are you going to solicit input from your community? How are you going to present information and milestones and achievements to the community? How are you going to communicate what the purpose of this activity is to your campus stakeholders? How are you going to publicize things, document and publicize things? And so here's some boilerplate text that you can use, and you would replace campus with your campus, your name of your institution, and some information about how you're using Oscar or whatever rubric you are going to be using for the activity. And then it gives some information about who to contact for information about the initiative. You want to talk about your the goals. What are the specific goals? Again, as I mentioned, what's the focus of the initiative? Accessibility, RSI, improving interaction or engagement. Is it just overall quality? Is it part of a continuous improvement process where you're cyclically, systematically, and consistently reviewing courses, let's say on a 3-year cycle? So you want to document what the specific goals for this initiative are, and it's not, likely you'll choose one of those, not all of them, or there might be a couple that can be combined, but you want to make sure to be specific about what your goals are. You want to think about separately what the goals are and document what the goals are for new online faculty development as opposed to experienced online faculty courses and the faculty. So it might be that you're just focusing in on new online faculty and courses. It might, but I don't want you to forget about your experienced faculty, and that perhaps you might need to be thinking about an initiative that addresses sort of that cyclical, ongoing, systematic review and refreshes of courses on a regular, you know, some kind of cycle, 3 years, or something. You also want to think about what model of a review and refresh you're going to be adopting or adapting or implementing, how you're going to adapt Oscar. If you're going to be using Oscar, are you adapting it in any way? Are you making any modifications to it? If it's for your nursing program, you might want to add some standards to Oscar that are specific to whatever the accrediting agency is for your nursing degree program. If if you are focusing in on some other type of an initiative, you just want to make sure that if you're going to make any modifications, that you plan for that and that you're thinking through what modifications might be necessary to Oscar in order to support the initiative that you're planning. Again, you might have different rubrics for different programs, for different disciplines, or for different departments, or for different initiatives. So you want to think that through. And that might be separate initiatives, or it might be combined into one. If you're doing overall course quality and your physics department has different requirements, perhaps, or standards, might have specific standards than your dental assisting program, you might have two different rubrics that would be involved in your initiative. So you want to think that through a little bit. So you also want to document why you are adopting Oscar. And I have a process illustration in the folder that, here it is. No, here it is. Just to share with you, in that document, I have links to the folder and things that are specifically that I'm pointing to you in the folder. So in this one, it's the process illustration. And so, just so that you know, Oscar is not just a rubric. It is a set of tools that include a self-assessment PDF and an interactive online rubric and just a plain set of standards. It's also a website of materials, and it also is this process that assumes that online course quality is something that requires some kind of a review. The review then points to things that need to be refreshed, that once the refresh is completed, the course gets delivered either for the first time or again. And then there is a what worked and what can be improved period, where you look at how things went and you look at the review that you made and determine what changes you want to make for the next time the course is delivered. And so in that sense, it is a continuous improvement process supported by a set of standards or a rubric. And it is iterative. It's ongoing. It's never done. It's not a one and done thing. It's something that you would do every time the course is reviewed, refreshed, taught, and then considered for the next time it's being taught. It's always being improved. Both the design of the course as well as the skills of the instructor are a process of continuous improvement. So yeah, you want to think about all of those things in this section as you're documenting the context and rationale for the initiative. In addition, you want to think about what approvals and communications and buy-in you have for this initiative on your campus. So you really want to think about your communication. So here I'm pointing you to the communications uh, section of the folder. And let me just take you over there. Um, it's here. So I have this sort of templated document as an example to share with you of something that we used when we had a larger scale online quality initiative. And so this first email is to send to the people who uh, to see if they want to have their course reviewed. And so this is just an example. You can take this and modify it. You can not use it. You can use it just as an example. And then this next email was something that we used once the instructor agreed to have their course reviewed. This was sent out to them, and also to the peer reviewers. We did a peer review model, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a sec. And then this was sent out to the peer reviewers that agreed to participate in the as peer reviewers in the project. So these are just examples, and you're welcome to adapt them, to use them, to ignore them if they're not helpful for your particular initiative. But I wanted to have some examples in there for you of some types of communications that you might need. You want to make sure that you're identifying your stakeholders and your committees and anyone that needs to approve of the initiative. You want to think about the policies that are necessary. Who are those key stakeholders? You want to make sure to get your buy-in and to get included on any meeting agendas for any approvals you might need. You want to document what the benefits are going to be to your faculty and to any of your stakeholders that are participating, and how you're going to be updating your key stakeholders and your leadership. You want to take an inventory, as it says here, of your existing policies, processes, and document that here in the context of this initiative. You want to think about what your targets are for dates. You want to get your necessary approvals and understand what that process is and what the timeframes are for that. That all will inform aspects of your implementation plan. And then you want to be able to be clear and transparent and communicate about your plans and events and your results. So one of the ways that you can that I have set up for you to think about this is to do a brainstorming activity. And so you can come to this document is in that folder to help with this process. And if you're doing it as a group process with like your distance learning committee, for example, you can facilitate this this brainstorming activity with them. And so basically, who are your stakeholders? Who's missing? What's the model that you're going to use in your review? There's all kinds of different models for doing reviews and these types of initiatives. It might be something informal by the instructors with the instructional designers, and this would be during a new course design process and done as part of the faculty development activities. It might be informal as a self-assessment that an instructor could do after they develop and teach their course the first time. It might be more formal, an instructional designer who reviews the course in order to pre-flight it, to say it's ready to go live. It might be as part of a peer review process where the courses in a particular program or department are reviewed and refreshed every 3 years, and it's done by a group of peer faculty. It might be a multidisciplinary team review where you have, let's say, the instructor, an instructional designer, a librarian, a student, and maybe a multimedia person. And it's like a multidisciplinary group of people. And there might be some other combination of these things that you envision or that you implement. These are just some, logical ideas for types of models of reviews, but there, as I said, there's lots of different ways that you can do this. So this document was the brainstorming document. You want to think about what your timeline is, and you want to think backwards from when do you want to have the courses ready for delivery. Think that through, and then your implementation plan with all of these things that you're setting up in your implementation plan are going to have to work backwards from that date. And then here you can start to brainstorm what your policies and your organizational structures or your procedures or processes, and how they might impact any aspect of your activity, your initiative. You want to make sure to build that in. So brainstorming that is going to help you to make sure that you have covered everything, that you have documented everything, that you're aware of everything. Now, this other document that's here is the same exact brainstorming document, only it contains all of the results of other groups that I've done this with. And so I have that in that folder as well. So once you do it, independently on your own, you can review this example document here, and see if you missed anything. This is just the full straight list of stuff that I've gathered from other groups that I have done this activity with in the past. All right, so let's go back to the template. And that we are here. We just went over assembling your key stakeholders. We went over the different models that could be adapted for your initiative. So this is where you would describe the model that you are going to implement. So as part of that process, you want to really think about training for your staff and any certifications that you might want them to have in order to either lead or participate in this larger scale quality initiative. And so you might want them to have some OSCAR training if OSCAR is the rubric that you're going to be using. If they're going to be training faculty to do course reviews, you might want them to have that certification. And you might want to consider I have the example here of the Online Instructional Designer Certificate Program from the OLC, and they have a great certificate program that they adapted and adopted from us. This used to be it was the SUNY ID cert program. So this is a really good program. So you might want to think about what training does your staff need. And again, the models we talked about already. And one of the things that we did, you might be thinking about, how many people you need in order to implement a larger scale activity. And one of the things that we did was we leveraged people who exist within our community across the system. And we put a call out for people who might be interested in conducting course reviews. And here's a link to that. And so you can see here is a list of people. I'll just click on Donna. and Donna's from Niagara. Her email address is there. Her primary discipline is there. What she's willing to review, what her availability is, and some of her experience as well as her certification. So this is this is on our website, and the link again is in that links document that I showed you. So don't worry about that. You have access to it. So anyone can come here in a self-service kind of way and look through the disciplines. These people are organized by discipline, and they have essentially raised their hands and said they're willing to do course reviews. And so in the self-service kind of way, you can come here and look at people and contact them to assist you with a course quality initiative. You might want to adapt this at your campus. So you could create your own group of people willing to do course reviews and do something similar. And so you can take a look at the way that we've done it by looking at the website that I just showed you. And here is the form that we ask people to fill out. And all of that information that is posted here on this website, all of this stuff that you see for Donna is what we ask for in this form, and then we just use this spreadsheet to create the listing of people who are interested and willing to do course reviews. So whether you use some resources at the system level that are available, or whether you customize something for your own campus, this is just a model of how we did that on a larger scale in order to leverage existing resources to kind of allow us to be able to do something on a larger scale than we would if we only were able to use the resources that we had available to us directly. So the next part of the plan has to do with new online course development and thinking about what aspect of your plan is specific to new online course development. So you want to think about the professional development that is going to be necessary both for your staff and for your faculty. And make sure that they have the professional development that they need. I want to point out that here in the Instructional Designer Certificate Program that OLC has, they have ID4, which is a specific workshop. It's a month long. All of these are about a month long. And this ID4, which can be taken in isolation of any of the other modules, is specifically dedicated to Oscar. So you can see the overview there and the objectives for that particular professional development. So you might want to consider how you're going to have your faculty trained, how you're going to, are they going to train, how you're going to have your staff trained, and are they going to train your faculty? So again, this is for new course development, and so introducing OSCAR or the quality standards during the formative stages of online course design is a best practice, so that it doesn't come to as a surprise to them when they're done designing their course. They've already been designing their course with the standards in mind. So you then want to think about, so that's what this is about, thinking about how you're going to incorporate standards formatively into your course design and faculty development processes. You then want to think about how the new courses are going to be reviewed and improved. So questions like who conducts the review, what's the responsibility and the authority that the reviewers have, when does that review take place, and who physically makes the changes. And then there are some examples of some models that we have seen, in our work with other SUNY institutions and other institutions in general. Occasionally, we'll see, we see a variety of different models, but typically the first time a course is developed and delivered, we would recommend that an instructor do a self-assessment with the PDF version of the rubric. And then they can take the results of that and use it to inform what they improve in their course independently. They could take the results to an instructional designer and work with the instructional designer to make selected improvements. It can be done in a workshop environment. There's lots of different ways that particular model could be implemented. All right, so let's go on to the next one. And this one is uh, using the review process to improve existing online courses. So we just looked at the one for new faculty online development and new online courses. This one is, this section is about dealing with existing online courses. Now, again, you could take this whole section out if this is not the focus of your initiative, or you could take the previous section out if that's not the focus of your initiative. It's just here to kind of prompt and guide you in designing your own customized initiative based on your context and what you're trying to achieve. So you want to think about what your expectations are with your course reviewers, and what your various types of implementations are going to look like. And to that end, I have a couple of PowerPoint presentations that I posted in that folder, so you'll have access to this. And this is a presentation that describes a larger scale quality initiative that Binghamton did. So this is for the, research university level initiative, and it goes through and talks about what they did and how they did it. It's just as an example. And then this one talks about Herkimer. So this is at the community college level, what they did. And this is a small rural community college, as you may know. And so this is what they did and how they did it. And then I have also posted here the third example, which is from Monroe Community College, which has a much larger staff and is a commuter campus, much larger campus. And this is the process and the example of how they did it. So you can see three very different examples of how this online course quality initiative was implemented at three very different types of campuses. And that's just there as some examples for you to see how that was done at those different campuses. I also have posted this guide, which is a PowerPoint presentation that you could make a copy of and use and adapt to your own purposes. This is something that we actually used when we were rolling out a larger scale online course quality initiative. And it's just kind of a generic PowerPoint that describes the process and what we were going to be doing. And it's a presentation that we did to faculty, instructional designers, and campuses on this activity that we were implementing with them. So again, it's an example for you to take a look at, and if you're interested, you can adapt it to your own purposes. All of these materials are openly licensed, and you are free to use them and adapt them in any way that you like, if they will be helpful. If not, you can just ignore them. But just wanting to give you as much as possible to help you do this, and give you as many tools and resources that will assist you in doing it. All right, let's go on to the next section of the plan, which is thinking about how often you're going to be reviewing courses, and thinking about that systematic and consistent approach to online course review and refresh, and that's going to vary depending on the initiative that you are targeting with this implementation plan. So you want to think about that, how often you're going to repeat the process, either at the campus level, at the degree program level, or at the departmental level. Is it, here, for example, is it the simple self-assessment for general online course quality that faculty do at the end of every time they teach? And what does that look like? How is that supported? What types of drop-in sessions do you have, for example, for your staff, to accommodate faculty who want to come in and work with an instructional designer to make the improvements they self-identify? Or is this something more formal that you're doing at the program level or departmental level or at the campus level, and you're doing that every 3 years? Every course is going to get a review and refresh. So you need to document that. And then how can you leverage this effort so that it's not something that you bolt onto existing activities? So it's not something extra you have to do. Is it something that you can do that is that, for example, if you're doing a self-study for your middle states, or if you are doing strategic planning, or if you are doing your budgetary process or whatever, how can you leverage this for those activities and initiatives? Think about, these are just prompts here to help you think through what are the different ways that you can leverage this process to get more bang for the buck out of it. So think about your your impact and reporting. How are you going to measure things? What are you going to measure? How are you going to measure? How are you going to report? You might want to reach out to your institutional research office to coordinate with them or get their buy-in and help with making any modifications to surveys, for example, or in any kind of data collection that you are intending to collect, to identify and then collect, and enlisting their help and support with that, I think is good and is a key thing. Um, who are you going to report to and how? Do you have an annual report? Do you have some events or meetings where your reports could be published or where you could speak? I mentioned the strategic planning, resource allocation, accreditation. All of those things are places where that you can leverage, as I mentioned, so that you're not duplicating work. You're actually using the work of this implementation plan to feed into some of those processes, and then we'll also help you with reporting, and give you vehicles through which you can report your successes and your statuses and your milestones, etc. You want to think about this initiative as its own initiative that needs continuous improvement. So you want to build into your plan a way to step back a little bit. Typically, these things will take some time to implement. It might be phased over a number of years, or it might be something that is cyclical over years. And so you want to step back periodically and think about what's working and what needs to be improved, and to build that into this plan so that it is something that's built into the plan. What's working, what can be improved, and how will you make those improvements to continuously improve this process, this initiative. Um, then you want to think about how you're going to celebrate and recognize successes in your initiative. You don't want to shortchange that. You want to think that through carefully. I have listed a bunch of examples here, and this is not to say do all of these things. These are just examples that will help you think through some of the ways that we have done it, so that you can see if what ideas that might give you for things that you could do in your own context, and just to think through in general if some of these wouldn't work for you, to really think through how you might do it, that it is really going to be meaningful, authentic, and responsive to your own context and to the initiative that you're carrying out. So one of the ways that we did it was with badges, and there it is. Um, so these are the Oscar badges. So we have some Oscar workshops that we have done in the past, and then we have some additional work that needs to be done in order to qualify as certified in those particular areas. And so you can go here and take a look at how we designed this little ecosystem of badges. It's not saying that you have to do this or anything like it. It's just one of the ways that we did it. Another thing that we did and have done is our Effective Practices Awards. And so this is just a model for you to take a look at that you might want to think about adapting for your purposes. One of the things that comes out of that sort of continuous improvement process and course review process is you get to see wonderful effective practices, and you might want to recognize faculty and practices that they have within their courses to share with your broader community so that you can create this mechanism of informing and influencing quality across disciplines, across programs, across your institutional ecosystem. And so a nice way to do that is with an effective practices program. And so you can come here and look and see how we've done it. There's a form that we ask people to submit. You can take a look at the form to see what type of information we're collecting. And so you can use that as an example. Another thing that we did was we created a mentoring program. And this mentoring program was another way that we leveraged our community to help us scale an initiative that we didn't have the resources resident in our staff in order to accomplish. So we asked faculty from across the system and instructional designers from across the system to volunteer to be mentors for other faculty. And so let me see, who will I look at? So how about Stephanie? So Stephanie at the University at Albany, she's got a web page, there's her email, and here is a list of her strengths. And she is an online teaching ambassador, one of our online teaching ambassadors. That's one of her credentials, for this purpose. So Stephanie has volunteered to mentor other faculty. So this is another self-service way that we assist campuses to network and interact, campuses, instructional designers, and faculty to interact and network with each other in this particular case on mentoring. We also promote a variety of webinars. We do a variety of webinars that are like lunchtime webinars. You may be familiar with them. We call them fellow chats, and you can see the link to submit a proposal, and here's the link to all the ones that we've done in the past. So this is a way that we can share effective practices and faculty that are doing cool things across our broader SUNY-wide community. So it's one way to get, when someone's doing something really cool, to be able to have them share that cool thing across a larger audience. So this might be something that you could adapt on your campus as well. Another idea was our online ambassador program that you may be familiar with. And then we have a way for our ambassadors and for anyone in our community to share their enthusiasm for online teaching. And so this is just chock-a-block full of ideas and prompts that can be shared with faculty or instructional designers or peer reviewers to help them share their experiences, share their enthusiasm, share what they learned with a broader community to help. Again, we're in the success section of the implementation plan. So these are ideas for how you can promote and share the successes from your online course quality initiative. All right, so let's go back to the implementation plan. We are in the appendix section now. We just talked about, oops, I missed some things, sorry. We were here on the success. The next section of the oops, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm clicking away. The next section is every implementation plan has a this is just a template. You can rip this out and put a proper spreadsheet in here. But this is just to get you thinking about, what staff might you need? And have you considered, if you're making some big modifications to Oscar, you might want to, have a Google Forms expert. You might want to have a librarian. You might want to have an accessibility expert or someone who's doing your videography, depending on the type of initiative that you are designing. You want to think through who are the staff and what percentage of their time is going to be required. What tools are you going to need? And how much will those tools cost? How much to close caption videos if you're putting a welcome video in every course to improve engagement and in teaching presence. Who's going to close caption those, or what's the process for that? Are there any costs associated with that? If it's an accessibility initiative, what are the tools that are associated with that, and are there any costs? If you're going to do any badging, what's your cost for your badging platform? Then training, we talked a lot about the training and certifications necessary to support your staff to be able to do this, and to support the faculty and the peer reviewers who are involved in this as well. So what are the trainings? What are the costs associated with it for your budget? Think about, are there any stipends involved? And think about ongoing professional development. Think about any association memberships that you might want to have as part of this activity and initiative. And then finally, you have, your typical signature page in your implementation plan, followed by appendices that include an org chart, that include your course reviewer expectations and agreement. And these are all like prompts to help you think about that. I have included a document in the plan, in the folder, the Google folder, that gives you an overview of the process that we used for our review and refresh program, for the SUNY Online Signature program. So you can take a look at this, you can adapt it if it makes sense for your context and for your plan, or just use it as an example of an overview of the process workflow. That's essentially what it is. And then you might have some references that you want to list. You might have a glossary of key terms that you want to list. Very important to have a glossary, because you can't assume that everyone knows and understands what Oscar is, what RSI is, what DEI is, what, the alphabet soup, even the word online. Somebody might think that what you mean is a MOOC. And if that's not what you mean, then you want to make sure that you really situate all the words that you're using in a context, so that everybody is talking the same language and understands what you're talking about. Then you might have some additional appendices. So again, I'm at the end of my presentation. I want to again point you to the folder that has all of these resources, and the document that has all of the links of everything that I showed. I want to make sure that you know some bonus things that you can take a look at. And I have an Oscar informed online course syllabus template that you can download and take a look at. And this has it's just a template for a syllabus, but it has a lot of good stuff in it. And so I invite you to take a look at that. Again, this is the URL for the implementation folder. It's on the Oscar website. So if you ever lose it, for whatever reason, you can find it on the Oscar website. We have an Oscar user group. So I'll invite you to join the online teaching community. And then if you use the hashtag sorry about that. If you use the hashtag Oscar in our online community, you'll be in touch with the Oscar user community. And this is open to anyone. That Facebook group is open to anyone. For SUNY only is our SUNY Online Teaching networking community, and that's in Yammer, and that's what we went to. We used to be in Workplace, but now we're in Yammer, so just want to point that out to you. And then again, we have another resource that we're working on right now, which are templates, course level templates for the new Brightspace environment. And I want to share with you and show you that we have templates and guides for a variety of teaching modalities, online instructional modalities. So high flex, hybrid, asynchronous, synchronous, face-to-face, and so forth. There's even a migration template if you're interested. And these are templates you can actually, I'll go into one of them. Let's go into the migration one. It's got the zip file that you can put into your Brightspace environment, and then there's a guide